Good, I think it's still morning, everyone, and welcome at this final press conference following the informal meeting of foreign ministers, the so-called Gimnik, that just concluded. Again, we have both speakers with us. This time the High Representative will say a few words first, and then Minister Rinkevic will follow and will take your questions, of course. The High Representative, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Let me start with a sad note, because this morning we started the meeting sharing the information we got from Mali, from Bamako, where yesterday night there was an attack with several victims, among those some European Union citizens, and we expressed altogether our condolences to all the loved ones of all victims of this attack, and a special thought to those of our colleague, because one of the victims, a Belgian citizen, was a security officer at the European Union delegation in Bamako. And this shows very clearly that we have to stay focused on all the threats and the challenges we have around us. Starting from the situation also in Mali, in the Sahel, and we will have a discussion on Africa at the next Foreign Affairs Council in Brussels on the 16th of March. Yesterday, as you know, we discussed about Libya and Ukraine, the two main security and not only security challenges we have in our immediate neighborhood, both east and south. And we stressed how it is important that we work together, united on all dimensions of our neighborhood. Today we started with a meeting with the foreign ministers of the candidate countries. With them we discussed the common foreign policy and regional challenges and opportunities we have. Also following up our discussions yesterday on Libya and on Ukraine, also with them. We discussed also the situation in their regions, in the Western Balkans, around Turkey, and we touched on the enlargement process a little bit. We then had a discussion on the review of the European neighbourhood policy, stressing the need for having a process now of consultation with full ownership, not only of European Union member states and institutions, but also of our partners in the east and in the south. We will have now some months ahead of us of deep consultation on what has worked, what needs to be improved in our partnership with our neighborhood, because it's very clear that the situation both east and south of the European Union is posing some question marks to all of us. And we feel it is time to develop stronger partnerships, political partnerships, with countries in our region. And we focused a lot on the Riga summit that is coming up in a few months. We agreed on the need to have a steady and good preparation that we started clearly today, both on the political message of commitment of the European Union to all 6 of our partners in the East, and on concrete steps we can take. I will maybe leave this more to the Minister, to Edgars, as the host, as Latvian presidency of the summit itself, and I will stop here.
Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. And first of all, I also want to join to what Federica, the High Representative, has said about the terror attack in Mali, in Bamako. I think that it has clearly showed that we, as the European Union, need to continue our efforts to stabilize the country, and I'm also joining to the condolences to families of victims. I will not repeat the High Representative, but I want to stress that we had a very good discussion here in informal meeting of foreign ministers on upcoming Riga summit of Eastern partners. And I think that there has been a broad agreement that Riga summit has to reaffirm the political commitment of the European Union in its eastern neighborhood. I think that we also have had a very good opportunity of the joint ideas paper presented by the Commission and by the External Action Service on the neighborhood policy review. And we think that some of those ideas can be really applied also to Eastern partners. First of all, we all are of the same opinion that we should have more individual approach to any of Eastern partners, as well as also, I want to stress, this applies also to our southern neighborhood and the countries of the southern neighborhood. We also are of the same opinion that we need more support to those countries that are conducting reform process. Again, applies both for Eastern and southern neighborhoods. And of course, if we talk about the deliverables, if we talk about the Riga declarations, that Kimnich meeting has now become, I think, a good impetus for working, first of all, internally in the EU, but also in a very close cooperation with all 6 Eastern partners in order to prepare Riga declaration, to prepare decisions. And we believe that while there is still 2.5 months to go, we can work on, first of all, the package of assistance to all 3 countries that have signed association agreements with the European Union, namely Georgia, Moldova, Ukraine. That assistance package should help them implement deep and comprehensive free trade agreement. Without that agreement, we cannot say about the possibility of further fostering the reform process there. Second, we've discussed a lot about visa liberalization program. We would be very hopeful to have, if countries, Eastern partners, meet the criteria, also to move according to the principle more for more. But here we still need to have the assessment of the Commission whether all criteria is fulfilled. We see the opportunity to broaden and deepen relations with Belarus, notwithstanding that there are, of course, some outstanding issues, political prisoners, but we see that we can also move in this direction. And also to use such mechanisms and also to actively engage in the dialogue on energy issues, in the dialogue on modernization of security systems of those countries, if they wish so, using also CSDP. So there have been a very good exchange, and I think that we are now taking from here to discuss those issues in Luxembourg, when we are going to have also foreign ministers of the European Union meeting with foreign ministers of Eastern Partnership countries. We will have also a discussion in the European Council, but I think that this Kimnich meeting has been a very good point for preparing a political declaration, the first draft, and to start to work on deliverables. Finally, just very quickly, we were also discussing the need, and I was stressing that yesterday during doorstep meeting, on a balanced approach and active engagement in both Eastern and Southern neighborhoods. We are talking about Riga Summit, which is going to be a very important event for our Eastern neighborhood nations, but I also want to stress that we discussed a lot what could be achieved also during Barcelona meeting in April 13th, where we are meeting with countries from the south, and this is the initiative that has been put by the High Representative, Spanish Foreign Minister, myself, and the Commission. So we are equally addressing also challenges in the south.
And let me take just 1 minute to thank very much the Minister, the Latvian Presidency, not only for this very successful Gimnik, from the political and from the organizational point of view, everything was perfect, but not formal, so substantial, and also for the highly symbolic political value that is there when the minister, government from one of the most Nordic and Eastern countries of the Union signing together with me the invitation, for instance, to the meeting we will have in Barcelona with our southern partners. This really means that we are all united in facing the challenges we have both East and South, and I think this is extremely valuable, and I would like to thank you very much for this.
Thank you very much. We'll take a few questions. When asking them, please identify yourself and the media you're working for and wait for the mic. We'll start with the gentleman over, I think it's fifth row in dark.
Jānis Rancāns, ziņu aģentūra BNS. Jautājums.
News agency BNS, Jānis Jansons. I have a question to Mr. Rinkevich. Early, several times you spoke on sanctions against Russia. You said that this will depend on the situation in Ukraine. If the situation deteriorates, there will be more sanctions. What do you mean by deterioration of situation? Do you believe that terror acts in Kharkov and Odessa are serious enough to speak about reinforcement of sanctions? The answer. First of all, I'd like to say that we have always linked the sanction policy with implementation of the Minsk agreement. Yesterday we had a very long and very fruitful debate with the General Secretary of OSCE. We discussed the reports of OSCE on the development of situation in Ukraine on the ground. The report says that situation is indeed very fragile, although there is certain signals showing that ceasefire is sort of respected. We have received information on the withdrawal of military armament. This is done on both sides, the Ukrainian army and the separatists. But this withdrawal is not done in full, it's not done completely. So therefore, today I would not mention the 7 criteria that would allow us to decide on whether the situation has changed, whether really we are in the position to discuss some new restrictive measures from the European Union. I believe that we will continue our discussions on changes of situation, and our Ukrainian colleagues in 10 days' time have planned the breakfast of Friends of Ukraine, where the High Representative and other representatives of EU member states will participate. So this will be another occasion where we will discuss the situation. By deterioration, I understand the renewal of war from the side of separatists or Russian-backed army, when new territories are occupied or new towns are again attacked. Concrete terror acts in Odessa and Kharkov, of course, are deplorable, and I'm convinced that soon we'll know who is to blame for that, but I would not tie or link them directly with implementation of the Minsk agreement. At the same time, I'm also concerned that this action may be also viewed as a destabilization of the situation if there is another attempt to stir unrest in these cities. Then these events, these acts could be part of the total picture. But as I said, the situation is very unstable and fragile. So the further acts, what we should do with regard to Russia, will continue this at the end of March. We continue our consultations. The presidency of the European Council of the European Union works together with OSCE, as I already told you. And as of now, although we cannot be fully satisfied with how the situation develops, we are not even nearly satisfied with the state of play. But still, we believe that there are slight signals of improvement. The situation has slightly improved compared to the date on 12th of February when the agreement was made. Now, at the moment, we focus on support given by the Normandy Group. We focus on diplomatic and political pressure, but as I said, if we see certain signals that I spoke about, or maybe some other events. Now I'm not ready to present the list of potential events. But of course, if something happens, the European Union will come back to the discussion, which clearly featured in our yesterday's debate. We support our efforts in the political area. We look for political solution. We are united. There is no problem there, and we are ready to to talk about further restrictive measures. I'm sorry for the lengthy answer. Thank you.
The lady in the third row.
Thanks. Giuseppina Paterniti della RAI. High Representative, what do you think about the proposal of Bernardino Leon that the European Union sends their ships in the front of Libya?
We discussed yesterday also with Bernardino Leon about different options that European Union is preparing for supporting a Libyan unity government should it come out of the talks that are currently being taken in Morocco. As you know, the European Union has a presence in the Mediterranean Sea already through Frontex, in conjunction with the Italian naval forces that is linked to the control of the borders and also the efforts to rescue migrants and asylum seekers that risk their life at sea. This is not to be linked to any sort of naval blockade to Libya, but we discussed different options for EU presence to agree with this future, hopefully, Libyan national unity government, together with the UN, of different ways in which the European Union can support, also through security measures, the new start, hopefully, of new Libya. This could mean also some naval presence, but we are in a far too early stage now to get into the details. We are discussing that internally with the UN, and we hope to be able to discuss that with the Libyan authorities soon in the future. Thank you.
Gentleman in the third row.
Hello, Ansis Pulpols, Nothing Personal Program, TV3 Latvia. Mrs. Mogherini, how do you think, does EU better understand Russia's foreign and military policy than a year ago, when Brussels suggests Ukraine not to conflict with Russia during Crimea annexion? And you, as politician, have you changed your mind about Vladimir Putin as a person, as a politician, and what to expect from him?
I cannot respond for policies of 1 year ago, for sure, but I can say that yesterday with the ministers and in the last months, in these 4 months I've been in office, we've been discussing several times not only of the situation in Ukraine, on which I fully share the words of the minister, but also of the overall strategy towards Russia, and of the developments inside Russia and of Russian neighborhood policy, let's say so. We also know very well that we have to play, as European Union, a role in facilitating some dialogues, in particular the energy one and the trade one, between Ukraine and Russia. We will have, again, meetings at ministerial level, both on gas and on the implementation of the trade agreement between the European Union and Ukraine. And this means that we have to obviously be very realistic about the developments in the Russian attitude, starting from the annexation, the illegal annexation of Crimea last year, and we're approaching the anniversary, I would say, in 1 week, of a very bad development. But we also have the duty to exercise our role, which is also a role of looking all the time for a political channel, in the interest, first of all, of our eastern partners, being it Ukraine, being it Moldova and Georgia, being it other partners. So I said many times, the European Union today is extremely realistic about the developments in Russia, but will never be trapped or forced or pushed or pulled into a confrontative attitude. We still believe that around our continent, not only in our continent, but around our continent, cooperation is far better than confrontation, and we will still argue for that.
Are you thinking that it's still possible to believe to any word what says Vladimir Putin?
I didn't get it, sorry.
Is it possible to believe any word what says Vladimir Putin? Is it possible to believe him, to trust him?
If an agreement is found, as it was on the 12th of February, and that is found having at the table President Poroshenko and President Putin, and when we say that we have to support Ukraine in its sovereignty, not only the territorial integrity, but also the sovereignty, we have to, first of all, trust our partners in Ukraine. And for sure, we know that signing an agreement or endorsing an agreement doesn't necessarily mean that you have the implementation of the agreement. But our duty is not to sit and wait and judge or react, as we are also doing, reacting very strongly. But we also have to engage concretely and strongly to make sure that those who signed or endorsed an agreement commit themselves to the implementation and push for it. So this is not only mine, but our common position. What has been signed, what has been agreed in Minsk on the 12th of February needs to be implemented at full. And as Edgar was saying, as the Minister was saying, first signs are positive, even if obviously not satisfactory. But the situation in the east of Ukraine today is better than it was 1 month ago. It's not good. It's not good. We all know that very well. No illusions about that. But it is better than it was on the 12th of February. So we have to push. We have to push. And it's a hard daily work that we do on the ground for the implementation of it. It will not be easy. We cannot guarantee it will be successful, but this is our commitment and our everyday work, I would say.
Well, I have to now take a little bit over from the press secretary, as High Representative has to leave to address another high issue, which is Iranian nuclear talks. We have to end here, and I really thank also journalists for being patient with us, and also thank Federica for coming here, and I think that we had really good, unique meeting.
Thank you very much.